I'm Leona Dooley, and this is Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme in the kitchen. And today in the kitchen, we're going to be creating a beautiful wreath. And if you are interested in seeing how I put this wreath together, just stay tuned. I do these kind of things all the time, of making beautiful centerpieces and wreaths and smaller wreaths and large wreaths and sometimes swags. And I will do it right here for you on camera. So that if you're interested in doing something like that, stay tuned today. Take care. Now today, the wreath that we're working on is a wreath that I've had for a while. And I'm kind of a bling girl. So I wanted this particular wreath to have a little sparkle, but I didn't want it Christmassy. Excuse me, I'm kind of adjusting you. I didn't want it Christmassy. I really wanted it to say spring, summer. And so we're going to be looking at that. I love florals, and so we're going to be putting florals on this. And as you can see, I have started, I started with a bow that I made out of a 20-inch mesh, 20-inch deco mesh. And originally, I was just going to kind of put it in and just kind of play around with where it was. And I haven't decided if that's just what I'm going to do, or if I'm going to actually cut it, only take it to a certain place, and then finish it here and leave some of it actually empty so you can actually see the grapevine. The reason I'm debating is because of the fact I have a sign that I am going to put right here. And so it says, "Welcome to my garden," with two beautiful blue birds. And I think they're so cute. So I am going to get this attached, I think, first, before I finish putting the mesh in, because I'm trying to sit it here and see if it'll stay for a moment, and until we get it secure. But I wanted to look at it and to see if maybe I might just kind of take the mesh along the top a little bit more here, because there's going to be florals that are going to be all in this area. So help me with this and let's work together. All right, so I'm going to place some zip ties here so that I can attach it here at these two places. And actually, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue down here once the florals are in so that I can secure it. I don't want to secure that until later, but I will put the zip ties in at the top so that I can secure where I place this sign. So that's what we're going to do. All right, now I have taken the two zip ties and I placed them there. Now I'm going to take I have not cut my mesh yet, and I think what I'm going to do is to gather some of that mesh, and I think I'm only going to bring the mesh to maybe here. Let me look at how far I want it over here. 1, 2, and then one more. So I think I'll cut it. I'm just going to kind of cut it in half. So let me get a good pair of scissors, and let's cut this mesh so we can work with it. And we're just going to have to be happy with the length once we do that. I think I can do that pretty well. So I'm going to take my scissors, give it a cut. Okay. This is the fun part of crafting, when you're just kind of making things the way you want them to be made. So I'm going to go down, I'm going to take the first loop, and I'm actually going to bring it right there. And that way the birds are visible. There's a little flare there. I can certainly trim that flare, but I want it to poof here. And in fact, I could bring it out a little more if I wanted. And I'm trying to compare the size of the poof. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. And then that way I can play with where the placement is. And I think I'll place it just right about there. And that way I can look at where the birds are and it won't interfere with the view of the birds. So I'll get that fastened in. All right, so I've got the sign in, and I'm just doing a little bit of adjusting with the placement. For some reason or other it wants to hang a little crooked, and I'm going to have to work with that. But I'll slide things around up there. But I think this is where I'm going to put my next piece of mesh, where I'm going to connect it. I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to fasten it. So hopefully so that the florals, in fact, I'll make sure that's the case, the florals will be able to cover, and yet still we'll have a little something special here for the bottom of the sign. And by the time everything's in, you won't even know where the connections are. So let me get that fastened. Okay, I'm going to have to bring you back. Okay, I have the little zip made in place. I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to flip that connector to the back and into the mesh. Just kind of take your finger and push it up into that mesh. And there we are. Now, hey, if you want to keep it really simple, guess what? We could secure this sign and get him straight, and before you know it, it would be finished. But you know, I never do anything quite that simple. Now, as I look at this, you can see the blues, the whites, the purples, a little yellow, and guess what? Right there's a little pink. So I'm going to be pulling those colors into this wreath. So I'm going to place them first, then I'll go back and start to glue things in. Well, I'm still working. I had a bunch of reddish colored flowers that I got. I've taken the larger ones off of this bunch, and I got two that I've taken off. This little bunch is called a mixed peony bunch. And as you can see, it has some beautiful coloring into it. I have two of those. And so I'll be probably putting some of these into the wreath before we finish. I also had two bunches of, I had two bunches of these little, they're called hibiscus, little white hibiscus. And I also had some purple hibiscus. So I am putting those still into my wreath and finding little spots for it. I just want you to know, you find inspiration for wreaths everywhere. When I went in the grocery store yesterday, I looked at Family Circle. And I don't know if you can see this Family Circle, but if you have seen the Family Circle for this month, then you've seen this batch of pennies. It's beautiful. And when I looked at that, I was just drawn to it. I had to have the magazine, only to realize when I got home that I had picked up something very similar. And so I want to reflect the feeling that I got when I saw this. I want to reflect that somewhat in the wreath. So I'm not finished yet, and I'm going to take you right along with me as I work through the rest of this wreath. Now, I'm at the point where I'm having to make additional cuts because I don't need pieces quite as long. And my glue gun is here. So I'm placing glue in, and I'm putting the hibiscus in. I don't want them too tall because I want them to be seen. I want the sign to be seen. And I still have quite a few on the second bush. So I am pulling a few off of there and working through that, as well as the fact that I still have some purple that I'm working with. And so I'm clipping about 1.5 inches off of each one, and I'm putting that on the wreath as well. Now obviously you're not going to want to watch me do all of this, but I will get you back into it. And there we go. I think it needs a little more white. And then we'll start to add some of the other peony colors. And I think when it's all said and done, you're going to say, wow, she was successful in bringing those colors out. So some things I want to kind of stand so that my signage is right on tap. I think I want that right there. So I have to look at the length. You know, you have to play with the length of your picks as you work through them. This one needs to be a little shorter, so I am cutting that and adding more glue to it. You know, it's amazing when you would think with grapevine wreaths that you would always have plenty of little spaces to work in, and certainly you do. Now, so that takes care of that spot. I see a couple more spots that I need to put a little more in. I'm going to take care of that. Okay, there we go. Now, so I just have little touches at this point. I want to leave this open. And so I'm going to put the little flowers in down here. And I'll bring you back when I'm just about finished. Thank you for staying with me.